I said to him when I sort of I decided to sort of, I wanted to try directing. I said, you know, do you recommend any good film schools I should go to or whatever? And he was like, mate, you've been on film school for the last 25 years. You know how it works, you know, the different angles of the cameras and, you know, like crossing the line and all these technical things. I was like, actually, yeah, I do. And so, you know, to have that confidence in yourself was important, but it took, you know, it still is. It's used to every sort of job or meeting that I have on, you know, with these producers and things, you always seem to think, oh my gosh, they're going to find me out. They're going to find out that I'm just this kid from Liverpool, you know? So yeah, but you know, you just got to overcome them at the end of the day.
After 20 years of acting in shows like Band of Brothers, Chernobyl and Humans, Philip Barantini has now transitioned into directing. Most recently, Barantini has taken the idea of his 2019 short film Boiling Point and turned it into a feature film starring Stephen Graham. The film is notable for having been shot in just one take. Boiling Point was released in theatres on November the 19th, 2021 and is out now on digital and on demand.
Want to welcome everyone to Film Forums. If you are viewing for the first time, I just want to encourage you to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, follow us on Instagram. Today, I'm Sean Johnson. Well, all days I'm Sean Johnson, but I am sitting down today with writer-director Philip Barantini, who is the writer-director of a film called Boiling Point. Philip, really excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Same here. And, you know, so Boiling Point, co-written with James Cummings.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
And then starring Stephen Graham. Brilliant in this, I just want to say. And just a really some terrific performances. I mean, I guess already I think everybody who's watching this can see that I'm a big fan of what you've created. So, but some great performances, great actors, Vinette Robinson, Elise Feetham, Jason Flemyng. So I guess, you know, to get started, I will have a few questions about the film, but also about you as a filmmaker, Philip. So this was such an interesting film to watch as someone who has a background of the performing arts. And I know you also spoke in another interview that you have some experience in the restaurant industry as well.
That's right. Yeah.
I imagine that informs some of what you wrote.
100%. Yeah. I mean, everything that's in the movie is based on truth, on something that I've, you know, either witnessed or personally experienced. So yeah, every single moment in the movie is based on reality. Yeah.
What drives you as a filmmaker? Like, what are some things, like, when you think I want to tell stories, I want to create projects? What are some of the things that are really like at the heart of you?
I mean, I just like, you know, as an actor background, I've got an actor's background, you know, 25 years as an actor. It's all about performance and real, honest, believable performances, and those characters having real depth. But I also like to think outside the box a lot. You know, I always, you know, I look at something and then go, okay, this is the way we could do this, and we've seen it a million times. That's the standard way of doing it. But how can we flip it on its head and try something new? Or, you know, I always like to sort of explore, you know, just the unconventional things, I think. So yeah, things like that excite me, and you know, I'm a big fan of thrillers and tension and that kind of thing, you know.
And as you mentioned, you have a lot of experience on set, you know, a lot of a background as an actor. So for you, when you stepped into the role as a director, writer, filmmaker, what were some of the challenges that you started to experience that maybe surprised you?
I mean, you know, I'd worked on many sets, but you know, as an actor, you just come in and you do the job and then you leave again, and you know, you get to know some of the crew and things like that. But it was one of the sort of, I mean, it wasn't really a challenge, but I think obviously, you know, when you first go into it, you have everybody has imposter syndrome. I you know, everybody gets it, and it's a real thing, believe me. So, you know, going into it and being, you know, having to be in, you know, in the sort of driver's seat of this, you know, of this world where, you know, everybody who was, all the crew and everybody like that, they'd been in this, you know, they've been in the industry doing their job for, you know, for years. And so for you then to come in as this new director, to then sort of have to navigate them and sort of and be their boss really, which is bizarre. That was a challenge because as an actor you're used to hanging out with the actors and being part of the actors. So when you're on downtime or whatever, all the actors are hanging out together. But even on the first short film I did, I was like, even hanging out with the actors felt like they didn't want me to be there, sort of thing. It was like I walk over and then everyone would go quiet and they'd be like, oh, okay, all right, this is weird now. But yeah, just sort of like believing in myself really, and realizing that a lot of directors don't know everything, and you don't need to know everything. So it's important to that I sort of overcome that, I think, because I think I could have crumbled a little bit in terms of like going into myself. And I did speak to Bart Rispoli, who produced the movie, and he was in Band of Brothers with me, and many years ago. He's an actor, and we've been friends for many years, along with Stephen as well, Stephen Graham. I said to him when I sort of decided to sort of I wanted to try directing, I said, do you recommend any good film schools I should go to or whatever? And he was like, mate, you've been on film school for the last 25 years. You know how to, how it works, the different angles of the cameras and, like crossing the line and all these technical things. I was like, actually, yeah, I do. And so, to have that confidence in yourself was important, but it took it it still is. It's used to every sort of job or meeting that I have on, with these producers and things, you always seem to think, oh my gosh, they're going to find me out. They're going to find out that I'm just this kid from Liverpool, so yeah, but you just got to overcome them at the end of the day.
No, I think it's part of what you're talking about. It's interesting when you talk about the divide between sort of the actor and the director. I imagine some of the imposter syndrome is also kind of on their part at the time, right? Their desire to impress, their desire to be liked. At least speaking from my time acting, that's how I filter that. Now, a lot of people who are interested in the work that Film Forums are doing are aspiring filmmakers, writers, directors, and they're looking to learn from people like yourself who are actually creating work. And one of the things that I think that I hear when meeting a lot of actors and filmmakers on the writing end is the writing can be a challenge. And I was curious because you mentioned in an interview that the idea for a one take continuous shot kind of came like an inspiration while you were working on the film Villains.
Yeah. So we'd shot the short film Boiling Point, and that was one shot, 20 minutes. We'd done that, and then I went on to do Villain, which was my first feature with the same producer, Bart Rispoli again, and the whole time I was James Cummings and I, who wrote the short, we were talking about writing the feature, and we were like, okay, so how are we gonna formulate this? How are we going to do it? And one of the ideas that we had was to use the short film, the first 20 minutes, to use the short film as the first 20 minutes of the feature. And then after what happens, it's the same thing that happens in the feature, it happens in the short. He collapses, and then we sort of go into a conventional way of filmmaking, and everybody and we use cuts and things like that. But it just wasn't exciting me. I was like, what was exciting was shooting it in one take. It was just like exhilarating. And then I just sort of thought, I sat up in bed one night, and when I was shooting Villain, I was just like, why don't we just do the feature in one take? I mean, and I started thinking, is it possible? Can we do it? I knew it had been done before in certain movies. And the first person I called was James, obviously, and he was excited, as excited as I was. And I was gauging from him, and I was like, okay, so yeah. And then I spoke to Matt Lewis, who was the cinematographer. Are you going to be able to carry this camera for an hour and a half or plus or whatever it will be? Yes, he was excited. And then the next person was obviously Stephen Graham. And I called Stephen. I was like, what do you think of this idea for the feature? And he was like, you are mental, but I love it. Let's do it. And that was it. And then we were just, all guns blazing.
Yeah, and I mean, it captured I would say a real glimpse into humanity. And I guess like thinking about the writing, I know some of this, I believe some of it was scripted and some of it was improvisational in nature. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it was all scripted. The whole thing was scripted, like really. We had extensive stage direction in terms of what was, and we wrote the script in the sort of in the POV of the camera, really. So then the camera moves over here and then over there and then over there, and we move and then we slowly move over there. And so all of the sort of stage direction was in there, but then any dialogue was just bullet points, really. And I didn't want to put any specific dialogue in initially. So we bullet pointed at everything that needed to be said at what moment, and the beginning, the middle, and an end of a conversation. So then when it came to workshopping the script, the actors then were able to do, I wanted them to improvise. But while they were improvising in the workshops, then James Cummings was sat there with his laptop writing all the dialogue down that they were saying. So then we implemented that into the script. And then even at that point, I said to the actors, I don't want you to be tied down to this specific dialogue. Don't feel like you have to learn it word for word, because of the one take thing, it's incredibly nerve wracking anyway for any actor. Especially if you don't come in like till 20 minutes into the movie, or 5 minutes towards the end, and you're trying to learn this lines. I just said the most important thing for me is that you listen to the other actors, and you know what you've got to say, but just listen to the other actor and how they're talking to you, and then just deliver whatever comes naturally. So don't be tied down to it. And also, I studied the Meisner technique as an actor, which teaches you to put your focus on the other person as opposed to thinking about what you're going to do next. And that's what I said to the actors, just do that, and be in the moment, be present in the moment, and listen to each other. It's the most important thing. So that's how we wrote the script. Yeah.
Was there ever a time when you were writing that you didn't really know where this film was going to go?
Well, no, really, because of the short, we knew that it was probably going to best to end it the same way as the short. And there was a couple of different ways that we talked about. But you could have ended it anywhere. Like, where's the best place to end the continuous shot? Like, it's so during the script writing, we gathered a bunch of anecdotes, really, about the things that I've witnessed and been through it myself, and that was really important, that we sort of made that list, and then we just thought, okay, that can go in there, let's that'll fit in there perfectly. So that was the list that we made, and then we wrote the script around that list. So it was, and all the little tiny moments from the sort of little microcosms of other people's little lives were just something that we sort of built, and we wanted to try to have those moments have their own little arcs in a way, really. But at the same time, leaving the audience wanting more, wanting to go back to the guy who's self-harming and to see how he's doing, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that kind of that brings me to the, I mean, there is, from my experience of watching the film, there really is, and I said it before, there's a lot of humanity in this piece. And what were some of the themes that you explored when you were, writing it?
Well, obviously addiction and mental health is a big one, and family. That family sort of dynamic and relationships and how people interact with each other, and what people are going through on a daily basis. Family was a big one because, when you're working in that environment, they are family. Sometimes you see them more than you do see your own family, which is sad, but it's the truth. So yeah, so those were the sort of things that we were thinking about, and mental health was a big one because everybody's going through their own thing. Everyone's going through their own struggles, whether it be Beth, the manager, or even the environmental health officer, or the food critic. She's talking about her family things at home, and so yeah, my sort of idea and hope is that anyone who's going through that, watching the movie, can see that everybody is going through something in their lives.
For people who are interested in making a film like this, or just I guess making really any project, but I'm curious about this film, and when you budget for a film like this, where are typically your greatest expenditures? Where what do you really have to heavily invest in? It sounds like, I mean, there's something that have to do with the rig that you guys had to craft, right? And then imagine other things. Yeah.
There's sort of two ways you can look at it, really. I suppose with a conventional film, all the crew are there every day, all the cast, they have different, deals, and some actors get paid for the whole job, or some actors get paid on a daily basis. But with this, it was all the actors were there every day in all the rehearsals, and all the crew were there every day in the rehearsals. But it was only a short space of time, really. So the shoot was originally supposed to be 4 nights, and we were going to shoot it twice each night. But then we shot this in March 2020, which was, you know, horrific time of year last year. So we got shut down 2 days early because the UK went into lockdown, and so we only did it 4 times. And you know, the sort of the expenses are obviously the actors. The location was an expense because we had to shut the location down for 3 weeks. And then the kit that we designed, and so but that being said, it wasn't a huge budget because it was really short space of time, and it's all in one location, and you're doing it in one take, so it's not you know, it's not we shot it, we'd come in at 6 p.m. Everyone would get ready, and then we'd turn over, we'd roll at 7 p.m. And then we were done by 8:30, and then we'd do it, and then we'd have a break, 3-hour break, and then we'd do it again, and we'd go until I think it was like 2 in the morning or something like that. But the whole day was just, you know, so it was a really, really different way of working. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
You know, I kind of have to know behind like the magic of filmmaking, right? It's, you know, this is a restaurant it's an active, busy restaurant. People are ordering food, people are eating. Was all the food edible? I mean, are people like really eating their meals? Like what's going on, you know, behind the magic?
Yeah, I mean, some of the food was edible, but obviously there's the food that was being seen to be eaten, like with Jason Flemyng's character, and you know, at that table, they had to taste the food. So that one plate was a live plate that they were able to eat, but the rest of the food had been sat out all day. And you know, a lot of these plates were already dished up, and they were left in fridges, or you know, so that the actors could just bring them out and then put them on the counter and then send them out to the customers. My gosh, it's been a long day. But so I said to the supporting artists, you know, whatever you do, do not eat the food, because you will get sick. But make out that you are eating the food. So yeah, and you know, the drinks were not real. They were obviously non-alcoholic and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I really hate to wrap this up. I could chat with you all day. I want to thank you for your time, and also just one more thing. You know, in working in the restaurant, I can't tell you how many restaurant people, and maybe you've said it yourself, have said, I think everybody should wait tables at some point in their life. And I think you've done a really interesting and powerful job of bringing people into that world and helping people who have never done it experience what it's like. So I applaud you for that. Please, everyone, check out Boiling Point. I think you'll enjoy it as well. And if you enjoyed this interview, please subscribe to Film Forums. Again, Phillip, thank you, and we'll see you in the future.